Welcome to coverage of the Rotax Max Challenge Africa Open from the Swartkops International Karting Raceway. Absolutely ideal conditions here today for karting, and we've got a big field of Micromax that are going to go at it and try and secure the seat to Brazil. Josh DePaiva's done it all right from the start. He gets pole position ahead of Reese Koorzen. Reza Lievy up there as well, the Reza just ahead of Muhammad Wally, and a great effort from Lagson Leo and Casey Ensel-Smith.
Guys, qualifying for the Africa Open, how did it go out there?
It went okay. 3-lap qualifying is not the best, but I hope this year we did better than last year.
In the race, who's the guys you have to worry about?
Muhammad Wally, Josh DePaiva, Reese Koorzen, and Troy Steyman.
Are they the ones who's going to fight for it? And you?
3-lap qualifying is pretty hard, but I think I did it okay. But the people I'm mainly scared of is Wally and DePaiva. It's mainly the people I'm scared of right now.
How do you handle today the pre-final 1 and pre-final 2 is just like another qualifying session? How do you handle it?
I handle it pretty well. It's good to practice for the last heats to get better points and all of this, and I really hope I can do well in this race.
I was a bit struggling on the first few laps, but then the last lap I eventually got it, and I kept telling myself I'm gonna come top 3, and that's all.
Yeah, who are the guys to watch out today? Muhammad Wally seems to be very good. DePaiva's also right up there. Who are the guys you've got to worry about today?
I think it's just going to be the top 4. It's going to be me, Reese, Wally, and DePaiva.
I think it was very tough this year. I'm going to start getting stronger and stronger on this track because last year I won the South African Open. I came first, and it was actually a tough year that year. And this year I'm trying my best, and I'm gonna see if I can get in front and win this championship.
Well, let me correct myself before Kyle Lawrence, who joins me in commentary, does. It's not for a seat at the World Finals, it's for a ticket to go and watch the World Finals. And of course, Reese Koorzen has already been there, and he's looking to take the first victory here today as they head down towards turn number 1. Look at this big pack of cars. Dude, there's 24 of them going at it.
Sounds like an absolute beehive.
Yeah, the future of karting looks good if this is the case.
For sure, as there's already contact there between Carl Bjerkes and it looks like Bjorn Berthold in the mid-pack as we head into turn 2, 3 abreast. Mohammed Moerat and Casey Ensel-Smith just making it through there with no issues.
Oh, loving this little fight out that's in that mid-pack. But as they get into the 180s, things start to get sorted out there. Looks like at the front end, is that DePaiva? I think DePaiva leads out, yes. He's got the lead so far. Right on his tail is Koorzen. Then you've got Casey Ensel-Smith and Lagson Leo from Mozambique already starting to make some maneuvers to the front end as quickly as they can. Remember what will happen here. You've got to get as many points in the bag as you can. Lap times are going to count, so that'll determine what happens in the grand final. But right now, it's just a fight. And these kids don't even worry where they are. They're in a kart race. Doesn't matter where they are.
The inside there on DePaiva. We can't seem to make it stick. Good move around the outside as the 2 Praga boys in the background, Casey Ensel-Smith and Mohammed Moerat, going at it hammer and tongs. Never mind there's a group of kids in front of them. They just want to race each other.
Yeah, first rule of karting, first rule of motorsport, beat your teammate.
Exactly.
That's exactly what they're going for, yeah. Right, up through the 180s again. Nice little drive here coming out of DePaiva. He really has got some good pace, but looks like Koorzen is matching him. The rest of the packers seem to be having a little bit of issues there. Keep an eye out on, of course, Musa Kaji. I was trying to pick up who that last kart was. Yeah, Musa Kaji in that pack as well. And Divan Naidu in there as well. So we're already seeing one of the Naidus having a bit of a fight out in previous coverage. And now today it's all about Divan. There's a move for the lead though. And super done.
Wow, big dive there from Mohammed Moerat. He goes from 5th to 3rd in one corner on Muhammad Wally, and I like your nickname, the Razor.
Yeah, the Razor. He's coming through there. Reza Lievy definitely knows what to do, and he's had a fantastic season as well. A couple of great outings, particularly down in Cape Town, but even when we went up into the Doobie Kart circuit, had a phenomenal round there. So definitely someone to watch out for, and potentially could be in the mix at the front end of the race by the end of the day.
Something I got to say about this class though is Joshua DePaiva doing 2 classes, this class and Minimax on a day. He's done 4 days of driving up until now. The fact that the kid can still hang on to the steering wheel astounds me every time.
I love when you go and say how's it to those youngsters at this part of the day, and you look at their hands. They're just blisters from top to bottom. But he's hanging on, take nothing away from him. He's certainly got a chance here, and I don't think he's going to be worried too much about taking the victory here. Although, you know what happens with these guys? They've got to try and take as many victories as they can because it boosts their confidence.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, their peers and their race rivals become concerned, and it starts to play the mind game with these youngsters.
We must remember that Reese Koorzen is only 9 years old.
Exactly. It's ridiculous. I mean, these guys, you know what, they've just out of nappies, basically, and they're going at it flat out here at Swartkops.
Pushing top speeds of 90 k's an hour over this into this double left here. This section here, they're doing 90 k's an hour through this corner flat out. It's unbelievable to see the maturity and the level of driving that these kids can pull out of their socks at the age of 8-9 years old. I wish I had talent like this at 8 or 9 years old. As Muhammad Wally down the inside now on Mohammed Moerat. Moerat showing a really good turn of pace. He's been struggling most of the season, so it's good to see him up there in the front.
Wally, of course, has already had an outing to one of the international finals, so he's a man to watch out for. Last year, he was our top contender, and I think he finished 19th overall at the end of the grand final weekend. So he certainly has a little bit of a point to prove here. He is definitely going to be fighting for that seat and for the ticket if he can get it, and hopefully be able to go and run again for the South African team and show what we've got. Remember, we're coming out of, 19 years and up to, I think, 16 World Championships. We definitely got to go and get some more silverware this year, buddy.
It's an absolute event to behold. You get there, you draw your cart out of a hat, and that's the cart you're racing. But Wally again with his early on blocking, all it does is slow him down and keep him away from the group in front of him. Rather get your head down and get the lap times in, boys, so we can get you up the front for the final.
Great effort though coming out of all these drivers, nothing held back whatsoever as we're getting into the mid part of this race. And look at that pack behind. It's just so good to see, because I know we're concentrating on the front end of this field because that's where the dice is, but there is just dices right through this pack of drivers. And when you got 24 of them going at it, this is non-stop action on the entire lap. Look at where the leaders have got to. They've pulled a big margin. The reason being is these guys are fighting too hard.
There goes Casey Smith getting pushed wide there by Muhammad Wally, and allows Troy Snyman, who has come from nowhere, I haven't seen him there the whole race, fighting his way up to the front.
Good dive there from Troy. Absolutely perfectly positioned and made it stick. Now as we go back to that pack, look at this. Now they start to sort things out for the last lap and a half of this heat. The pre-final number 1 here for Macromax. And as they go up over the flyover, look at that. It's a steam train. There's 10 carts fighting for third.
Unbelievable thing to watch. It really does show well for the future of karting.
Across the line they go, another lap completed, and they head down towards turn number 1. Our leaders now starting to mix it up a bit. I think Reese Koorzen definitely wants to hang on to this win, but you can see big pressure coming from DePaiva and looking for opportunities if there are any. Here we go. 4x4 into turn 2. That'll usually end up in tears. And this time though,
it doesn't.
Fortunately not though. It could have been a big
It could have got all sorts of pear-shaped.
Yeah, there we go, into the 180s again. Top 2 starting to... Oh, they've pulled a massive gap over that. Look at that second pack. That second pack is massive. Watch the camera hang back for it. Here we go. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 of them, all going at it for third.
Unbelievable.
And I think any one of those 10 can take third place. I can tell you, that's the kind of talent pool we've got in this pack of carts. And really, absolutely brilliantly done for this event too. From the Rotax Max organisers. They've got together and they've started to put karting onto the map again here in South Africa.
Where did Mohammed go?
I don't know where he's going.
Where's he going?
Whoa! He's going over the top of somebody.
Mohammed Moerat and Reza Lievy, the Razor, taken out of that 10 kart group.
Sure.
That was a bit of a strange thing to watch.
Oh, that was massive, hey? I'm not quite sure what was going on there, because he went to the inside of the track so early on, out of the last 2 turns, had to go defensive.
DePaiva on the inside off the lead, a little bit of contact, but no one seems to be leaving the circuit, so they'll get away with that one.
Oh, fortunate to do that. I think Koorzen's going to hang on now. That little move was probably the last-ditch effort there from DePaiva. He's going to have to settle for second place. Hopefully he's got a good lap time in. He's going to get good points. And with the flag coming out now, it is done and dusted for heat number 1. Pre-final 1 being taken by Reese Koorzen. A great effort there from the 2 of them, but as they get down here, there'll be a lot of action on the right-hand side of them as he punches the air, Shumi style, and takes the first victory. DePaiva in second, Casey Ensel-Smith in third, Laxon Lau comes through for third. Look at that!
That is
right over the top.
Unbelievable.
What was Muhammad Wally thinking?
Inside of the circuit.
I don't know where his line was there. I think he was trying to go defensive and try and keep everybody else out. If he just stayed on the normal line, he probably would have made it stick. There we go, confirmation of the result though. Koorzen from DePaiva, Ensel-Smith and Leo beating out Musa Kaji Naidu comes through beating out Ken Swartz, and then it's Bierkus, Sambandula, and a great effort from Bjorn Berthold for top 10. Pre-final 2 now, lining up at the front end. You can see these boys are ready to go. And I think we're going to be in for some more action like we saw in pre-final number 1. Muhammad Wally getting a 5-place penalty after that little maneuver he pulled. And now as they cross the line, lights go out and we go racing. Down towards turn 1, it is going to be Reese Koorzen.
What a move down the inside there.
Yeah, what a start there from Depava. Depava gets the whole shot. Koorzen into second as they head down towards turn 2 and start to sort things out there. Right on their tail, Ken Swartz into 3rd place. That is a big move there from him. And keep an eye on this back as they all go through. Do we get through clean and clear? Yes, we do. Only just.
Looks like Casey and Smith and Muhammad Wally already up until 5th or 6th there in the group from the start. Great start from both of them. As we head up now over into the right, left flick over the tunnel.
Definitely was needed from those two because they've got some maneuvering to do now. Looks like a little bit of maneuver there. Yeah, up to 3rd place is Depava. He loses out to Ken Swartz. He's up into 2nd. Swartz applying pressure onto the leader as they go into turn 1. Speaking of pressure, how's that?
Mohammed Moerat.
Thanks for coming. Moerat just forcefully making his way through the exit point of race number 1 for him. That's where his race ended. He's now starting it now for race 2 and starting to get real busy into that front pack.
In 4th, there's our Mozambican compatriot Laxon, obviously getting a good lap time in Heat 1 and pushing himself up the grid for Heat 2. This is why I like this fastest lap for starting position in this class. You really get a mix up every heat.
It's great to see that, and of course putting it all together now for the fastest laps and as well as the points to determine who's going to be in the final. So as they head down, change up for 4th place, here we go.
Ken Swartz on Laxon there, Kent going in too deep, allowing Abson to come back on the switchback there into turn 2, keeping on to 3rd place as Troy Snamon now attacking Ken Swartz into turn 2.
Leo coming and maintaining 3rd place. Oh, a little run wide, not quite where you want to be. The dirty stuff, it definitely hurts, and when you've got no suspension, the tyres are going to take the strain. And hopefully they're going to be able to recover nicely, but there shouldn't be too much of an issue there. You can see there's 3 packs of carts. You've got the 2 leaders, then these 3, and then a massive pack fighting for what is going to be 6th place on track.
Carl Becker showing a bit of pace there up into the mid-pack of the 2nd group there. There's groups all the way through this field. It's unbelievable to see 23 carts on the grid for Micromax.
Looks like there's going to be a fight of note here. And really, it's not the one that's needed right now. Remember, we've still got 1 more heat to come. That's the one that's going to determine who's who. As they come down onto the braking markers now for turn 2. All 5 of the top 5 having a look over their shoulders just to make sure where everybody is. Muhammad Wally, though, starting to make a move.
I expect him to move up a little bit quicker, but it looks like the pace is so close between all these carts. To move up the field is going to be very difficult.
Let's see whether or not he's able to get up into that top 3, maybe into the top 5. Top 5, I think, is probably where he's going to be aiming for right now, because I don't know if there's enough time or laps in the race for him to bridge the gap. He's still got to find a position up before he can start closing the gap down between the 2nd group of carts and where he is right now.
Looking racy there in the middle of that mid-pack is Casey Enzel Smith trying to get past Kyle Bierkes as they head down the main straight. He's on the inside again. MK behind him there, also just giving him a bit of a nudge, get him to get a move on there. Hopefully he can make a pass into turn 1.
Yeah, I was just picking up on Kaji there. He was definitely giving him a bit of a maneuver and saying, right, come on, we've got to go. We can't be messing around here at the back. Let's get the maneuver on and get through. It's not going to be an easy way, that's for sure. But Naidu's there as well, so is Mika Abrahams, and Sambadula having a super job too. So let's keep an eye on that 3rd pack of carts, because things are starting to heat up. And in fact, as I say that, the 3rd pack of carts has now been split into 2.
It's become the 4th pack of carts as they're unable to get past Kyle Bierkes. He's being very defensive, very clever. Nothing outside the rule book, but just keeping KC behind him as well as MK.
So as they come across the line, another lap complete to top 2. All about Koorzen and Depava. They are starting to open up a big margin. A little bit of change up in lines, and there you go, up into 3rd place.
That's Troy Snayman there getting past Lax and Leia.
Leo gets the motor down 1 position. 6:27 coming through there. Mohammed Moerat just hanging on to these 3, hoping that they're going to tow him to the front end. And if they can just bridge that gap, they're working 3 by 3, so it's normally a case that if you got 3 carts, you can move through the air a bit quicker, and that's exactly what has happened here. Look at how they've closed that gap down now. From a 2-way battle, we now got 4 carts fighting for the lead.
Yeah, Troy's name on bringing Mohammed Moerat there, but it might be the blocking tactics from Reese Koorzen there. There's nothing wrong with what he's doing. He's only moving halfway and moving back to the outside, but it's just keeping Depava behind him and maybe just slowing the pace down, allowing these 2 to get onto it. If they're not careful, this is going to turn from 4 carts into 10 again.
Oh, it's great to see this. This is what it's all about in our Micro Max
Reese Koorzen
category.
a little bit wide there. Oh, the Pava almost had a look up the inside as they headed over the bridge there.
If he'd stayed wide, he probably would have gone through there on the flick-flack over that little flyover. So nearly making it stick. So as they come in to complete another lap, look at how it is starting to heat up here. This is where it's going to change up things for this grand final coming up in a few minutes' time. But right now, they've still got to determine who's who and where they're going to start on the grid. And right now, the battle between these four at the front could be very, very dramatic.
4 is very quickly turning into 7 there as the rest of the group catches on to them. It's Ken Swartz, Reza Lievy, the Razor. I love that nickname.
Yeah, you like that one, eh?
I love it. And
Write that down.
I'm going to. Where's my notepad?
Right, so Razor's in it as well. Yeah, he's definitely having a shot. And the young man from Cape Town definitely showing that he's got the fight in him. As I said earlier on, he's had a great season so far, so he should be at the front end here fighting with these guys, because this is where he's been all season long. Hasn't quite got the setup right yet though, but he has improved dramatically from pre-final 1 to pre-final 2. So if that improvement continues, there's a shot that for him being in the mix.
Mohammed Moerat down the inside there on
Moerat.
Troy Snyman. Great move.
Now, Moerat just getting up the inside, open door policy, and makes it stick for third place. But there's the return, and back in goes Troy Snyman.
2 of them have always seemed to got their elbows out there. If you watch them throughout the season, they always seem to have their elbows out, ready to race.
Yeah, a little bit extra, maneuverability and potentially blocking. It's like when you put your foot out in MotoGP.
For sure.
Put that elbow out, guy won't have a go. But that's not the case. These guys will have a go anyway, and they really are.
Being the only CRG mounted kart out there, I think Reza Lievy is struggling a bit to get the setup 100%. He's got no one to lean on, no one to check his setup with, being the only CRG in the front. So he's doing a stellar job there. Just behind this group as Troy Snyman goes defensive. It's allowed Ken Swartz around the outside of Mohammed Moerat. That was a brilliant move from Ken, but it didn't quite pay off.
Oh, there's Reza though. Reza comes straight into it. So Lievy now into the back end and actually going for a maneuver here. Had a look, couldn't quite make it stick, but very, very much closer than what he was earlier on. It's great to see that. Closing stages now, and it's all about the top 2. Koorzen hanging on. Can he keep out Depaiva? Depaiva looks left, right, and center, trying to find a way through. They've got to be very careful that they don't go too defensive and fight out too much, because it is losing them ground. And all of a sudden, Troy Snyman's got a little bit of a whiff there for a potential win.
It's definitely nice and close up the front. The same two protagonists we had in the pre-final one. Is this a bit of a pattern starting to form here? Are these going to be these two that we follow throughout the next race?
Yeah, it could be. The way that they're going right now could be. But you can see the pressure being applied by Depaiva has not paid off. Koorzen has just soaked it up. Every single maneuver, he just blocks and makes sure that he stays at the front end. It has slowed them up ever so slightly, because both Ken Swartz and Troy Snyman now starting to close down on the top 2.
And Koorzen running a very fine line between changing lanes too many times and just changing enough. He's running very close to that ruling there, and it's actually, he's doing a great job to keep Depaiva behind him and within the rules.
So looks across his shoulder, turns in. It's precision driving coming out of those two. You can't afford to put a wheel wrong, and that's why the checkered flag comes out for the man out front. He hasn't put a wheel wrong. He'll take the pre-final victory, and it'll determine where he gets up onto the grid, and it's a great effort from him, because it means that he is going to start in pole position after that race win. Alongside him will be second places Josh Depaiva, and of course results there are Troy Snyman in third, Ken Swartz in fourth, beating Mohammed Moerat, Reza Lievy, and then Muhammad Wally with some work to do in the grand final, beating out Laxon Leo, Casey Ensel-Smith, and Carl Bierkus, your top 10. All right, this is the one that counts, buddy. This is the one that is going to determine who gets that little special ticket to go and see what happens in Brazil. And our top 2 protagonists of the entire day are on that front row. Use your money on.
I'm going to go with Casey. I'm going with Casey Ensel-Smith for this
Alrighty.
one. I'm going with the outside shot as they head down into turn 1. A lot of movement again. I can't believe these kids actually make it through turn 1 without an incident.
What, 5 by 5? There was a little incident. Oh, no, there's a big one.
We got a trailer. We got a Fenta trailer. MK and Carl Bierkus getting hooked up there as a Fenta trailer.
Oh, it didn't quite work out for the two of them. They're both back on track, though, so should be able to make up some ground. Hopefully you have a little bit of a Jason Coetzee there. We saw a little bit earlier on in some of the coverage you'll see as well on the coverage from Africa Open. Coetzee coming from the back of the field to finish up in the top 5. And now, speaking of the top 5, there they are. All 5 karts, and remember, now a little bit more determination in these drivers. It's no longer a case of just trying to sort out where they are on the grid. This is the one that gets them the ticket to Brazil.
I'm super chuffed to see Laxon Leo from Mozambique up there, third place, mixing it up with our usual protagonists, our usual national championship protagonists for this ticket to the African Open.
And that's exactly why he's pushing as hard as he can. He has a move for the lead. We saw this early on in race number 1 and 2. And it looks like there's big determination coming out of Reese Koorzen. He definitely wants to be the man that they're all going to follow for this race. Laxon Leo, what a move there to second place and diving through for second, keeping out that rest of the pack. But what a fight we've got here between these 5.
Ken Swartz and Casey Ingersmith looking racy behind the two of them as well. Remember Casey coming off a broken arm at the beginning of this year, broke it on a motocross bike. Can you believe it? Holding him back for the whole season, but it seems to have recovered well, and he's showing a lot of turn and pace here at Swackles.
There's a lot of guys that sort of chop and change between those two sports. I know a couple of guys racing in the National Motocross Championships that are using karting just to get the race skills in there, and it's the best way to learn. Karting is certainly the ideal
And there
maneuver.
we see it there. Daniel De Pava going up 2 places as well with Reese Koorzen.
Koorzen takes the lead, De Pava into second. Laxon Low down into third place now, and here we go. Have a look at this pack lining up just behind. Our early race leader dropping to the back of that pack, and you can see it's not going to be an easy day out there as they all start to sort things out. 2 by 2 they go up through the 180s and eventually slotting in, but watch for the cutbacks here and trying to get through on the flyover. Normally with these slightly less powerful carts, they're not able to make the maneuver over there, but by the time they get on to 3 and 4, this final turn, that's where they start to come into their own.
Our 5-car train has just turned into an 8-car train with Muhammad Wally leading up the back of it. I didn't expect him to be up this far up the pack so early on as Laxon Leo goes on the inside for the lead of this final. There's a couple of drivers we haven't seen up in the front the whole day. They're now showing their pace in the final race today.
Because it counts. This is the one that counts. They go 5 by 5 into turn 2.
Wow.
Eventually slotting left, right, and centre and getting through there. Oh, a couple of guys coming together.
That's
wow.
Reese Koorzen.
Reese Koorzen. Oh, one of the early race leaders there runs wide and comes together, I think, with Troy Sneyman, if I'm not mistaken. But that has just opened up an opportunity of note there for Muhammad Wally. Muhammad Wally avoided the contact between those two carts, and I think he slotted up into 4th or 5th place, if I'm not mistaken.
A bit of a move there from Laxon Leo on De Pava. De Pava going back at him, so now it's 3 abreast as they go over the hill, and it's allowed Casey Ingersmith up into 2nd place into the double left.
Leo in there as well and looking pretty determined. Looks like it's going to be a fight of note. Now, the one concern you're going to have here is how much fighting and infighting is going to happen here. Because if it continues to be banging like it just happened now, then you've got to just be careful on where you are to avoid any action that could potentially ruin your day.
Now, we know Mohammed Moerat and we know that Muhammad Wally have both been strong. They're at the back of that pack just waiting to pick up the pieces should this bumpy, bargy sort of racing carry on. I think they're just eager to get into the front and take this ticket for the African Open.
Now, there we go, another maneuver. Laxon Low up into 2nd.
I've never seen a pass there.
Well, there you go. You've seen one now. There
Brilliant
it is.
pass there from Laxon Leo. Okay, so
He's from Mozambique. He's got special lines. No one knows about those lines. Only Laxon does.
I'm going to write them down.
Go write that down as well. Just take it with you. Use it for your coaching. Right, up over the line again. Another lap completed, and we're getting closer and closer to see who's going to be taking this final bit of racing for the day here for our Micromax category. 8 horsepower carts. These guys are able to do probably just under 100 k's an hour. And all of them, youngsters. I mean, this is the future of karting. And if this is the kind of future we're looking forward to, I can't wait. This is great racing. You can see that these guys have been spending a lot of time with their coaches, the likes of you and a couple of other guys that are throwing in all the experience you've gained through the years. And it's starting to show big time with potential world champions in that little group of 7 carts.
There's nothing better to work with these kids that are in this group here and watch them put into practice what you try to teach them. Because all you teach them is theory. They've got to put the practice together. And to watch them pull it off is unbelievable. We've got 3 abreast into turn 1. 3 into 1 normally doesn't go, but Mohammed Moerat has made it stick and he's moved his way up into 3rd place.
He keeps getting you wrong completely there. Every time you say 3 into 1 doesn't go, Moerat goes and shows you that it can be done. Oh, here we go. Muhammad Wally starting to make a move as well. He goes up 1 position into turn 2, so chopping and changing in that front pack. And they're starting to sort of set themselves up to be in the right place at the right time, because that's what's more important right now, is not to worry about who you're fighting with, but just be able to be in that right position to make a maneuver if one opens up for you.
The one thing I must say about Mohammed Moerat's card is it looks like that nose cone has been pushed in, so now that's an immediate 5-second penalty that is going to be added onto his time at the end of the race. So I wonder if that's going to come into play now. You'll have to get into the front to get 5 seconds away for him to take the win here.
He's trying to. He goes on the inside and goes with Laxon Low up into 2nd. Low takes the lead. Moerat into 2nd place. And is that Wally up into 3rd? Oh, no, not quite yet. He's up into 4th place into turn 2, but definitely looking pretty racy. And I think
Ken Swartz, a big loser there. Something's gone wrong. I think it's thrown a chain.
That's a big pity there for Swartz. He was going so well, parked on the sideline. Looks like a lot of retirees there on the entry point to the bridge.
From 2nd place to sitting on the sideline.
Definitely not where you want to be. That is for sure. Battle continues though. 4 carts in it. Muhammad Wally looks pretty dangerous. He's putting in some good lap times. In fact, I think he's just gone into one of the fastest lap times we've seen over the weekend. Reese Koorzen has also set a really quick lap. So unfortunately, so far back, it doesn't help now. The lap times don't count. What counts is where these boys are and where they're going to finish at the top end of this field. Running each other wide there, that's going to give Wally a chance. Oh, Moerat loses out third place. Wally dives on the inside, gets to third, and now closes in on Leo. Leo is under attack. Both Mohammeds there, all over the back end of Lax and Leo, and the man from Mozambique is going to have to keep his eyes in his rearview mirrors. Up to the 180s. Has he been able to do it? No, he hasn't. Yes, he has. Oh, he's got through. So Lax and Leo has dropped down one position, so it's now Muhammad Wally looking to attack and potentially take the race victory here. He's got great pace. He certainly looks like he is meaning business here, and I think we may see a change up here. I wonder if the Pive is going to be able to keep him out.
These two have been going at hammer and togs all the way through the season, so they're used to racing with each other. Two of the oldest boys in the class, so there's a bit of a mature heads here as we head into turn one, though. Good move from Wally. Perfect block pass there to get past the Pive.
Good block as well from Lax and Leo to keep out the third and fourth place men. Mohammed Moerat comes back at him into turn two, dives on the inside for third.
Casey seeing blood. Smelt the blood.
Brilliant stuff. Great positioning, perfect position to be in when that maneuver happened, and he dived and capitalized on it. You could see that coming from a mile away. We got a new leader as they head up over the flyover for the first time. It's now Wally who leads out. Can he keep it all together now for the last couple of laps here in Micromax?
We see that move to the inside again, just blocking off the Pive into the double left. Not a place we normally see them pass, but I've been proved how many times wrong by this field. The Pive are following Mohammed down onto the inside now as they head into turn one. He's going to try and go deep and round the outside, but that just allows Moerat up the inside, and Casey round all three of them.
Oh, look at the Pive onto the grass and onto the rumble strips there. Almost launching that cart sky high. He's run out of talent there big time. Oh, man. A couple of guys coming into it big time there. And unfortunately, looks like Moerat was the biggest loser.
And Troy Sneyman there going from 4th to 10th.
Exactly. Sneyman getting caught out in all that fracas. But the one thing I was concerned about is the Pive just couldn't slow that cart down. It wasn't a case of talent. He just didn't have the braking ability going into the bridge. And unfortunately, he got caught out, and it's lost him big time. And the man who wasn't involved at all is Wally. So he comes across the line and takes the victory. And it was basically gifted to him. He stayed out of all the trouble, but a fantastic drive nonetheless. He had to come from a little bit further down than what he expected into this final, but he takes the win. And that's ahead of Casey Enso-Smith. Reese Koorzen eventually recovered up into third place. It's Josh DePaiva in fourth after a little bit of Night Rider stuff on the sideline. Björn Berthold beating out Lax and Leo, Troy Sneyman, Luvevi Sambudla, and then Musa Kaji beating Carl Bjerkes for the top 10. That's how we end things up here for the Micromax. And congratulations for a great day's racing coming out of our Micromax competitors.
Last year it was Portugal, now it's going to go to Brazil. At least we're getting to sort our Portuguese out, hey?
Yeah, inshallah I'll go to Brazil this year and win there.
Talk to me about the race there in Micromax.
It was tough. A few people got taken out. That was an accident. So God helped me to get to the front, and then like last moment, down the straight, I overtook the Pavia, and then I got to first.
But that race was the best race of the day. We had up to 10 cars at the front there for many, many laps.
Yeah, it was a bit tough. So, but God helped me to win.
Talk to me about at what stage were you worried at any stage that this could not go your way?
Yeah, in the middle it wasn't so good. My engine wasn't so fast. Then came the end where there was quite a few accidents. Then God helped me to get to the front and win.